Today, we're going to go over how you can create and assign recruiting checklists on ProductiveRecruit. Let's get started. First, you're going to click on the checklist tab over here, and then you're going to see your active checklist. To create a new one, click Create Checklist in the top right. A recruiting checklist is a way to assign a series of tasks to athletes throughout the recruiting process. A checklist can be part of multiple spaces and can be automated with a drip type. So let's name our checklist, set up profile as an example. And for the type, we can select drip or basic. A drip will allow us to enroll athletes into checklists dynamically and trigger tasks relative to when they are enrolled. This is the recommended approach because it will automate some things and save you some time. Basic checklists allow you to set hard due dates or no due dates. So if you just kind of want a basic checklist, select that one. So let's select drip. We can optionally set a description. This is kind of internal. Athletes will see it, but you do not need to fill it out. Select the spaces. We can select all spaces to automatically check all of them, or we can pick one or the other. Let's do all spaces. Configuration. So this is important because the go live date, for example, if we do not select a date that is today or in the past, the checklist won't be available yet. So let's leave it at today. But if we're planning one for the future, we could set a future date. We're obviously going to want this to be active. And then auto assign. This is important because you don't want to select this unless you want to automatically enroll athletes in this checklist when they are invited to the space. So this is really good if you want to really automate things and you have certain checklist or one checklist that every athlete should be enrolled in that space. So let's select that. And then hide next steps. This is a new feature to V3 if you are here in V2. And it makes sure that the athletes cannot see any future steps until they've completed the current one. And another new feature in V3 is attachments. So we can add PDFs and pictures and other things here to help the athletes understand the instructions or add an additional resource. I'm not going to add one here, but that's just so you know. Click submit. Next, we're going to add our steps. So let's add our first step. Well, let's make a 3-step checklist to help an athlete set up their profile. Okay, so after we add in our step, we're going to set up the cadence. So let's go over this real quick. So trigger after. This is when the step will trigger after an athlete is enrolled or completes the previous step. So if it's our first step, it basically says, when will the athlete receive the notification to complete this step or that they were enrolled in the checklist? So let's say we want to be 5 minutes after they're enrolled. And then the important one is due after. So when is this checklist due? They will receive another notification. They'll receive a notification when they're enrolled in the checklist and when the step is due. So let's say it's due after 10 days. You can also select minutes or hours here. Add step. Great. Now we see one step. We can click edit to update the instructions. Let's add our second step now. Cool. All right, let's say this one's due in 5 days or trigger after 0 minutes. So we're going to say it's going to trigger right after they complete the previous step and then due after 5 days. Cool. All right, let's add the third step and then I'll show you how to reorder. Okay, and as you can see, as I'm adding the instructions here, you can add some rich text. So like headings, you could add links if you want, just so you know. And then let's say this one also triggers 0 minutes after the previous step and is due 2 days in 2 days. Okay, so cool. So now we've added our 3 steps. Let's say we want to reorder those steps, though. We can click reorder steps and move them around here. But I just wanted to show you that I'm going to move these back in their original position. Okay, so now that we have our checklist, how do we enroll athletes in them? Well, you'll see here we do have an athletes tab, but obviously no athletes are enrolled. We can always add up to 3 attachments here. And then on our settings here, we can update the name, description, spaces, and configuration. So let's go back to our spaces. We've selected all spaces. And then Now that this is an auto-assigned checklist 2, any new athlete that we invite will be enrolled. But let's use bulk actions to enroll some athletes. So let's enroll these two with a bulk action. We can click Assign Checklist and select that checklist. Click Confirm. Great. And then if we click in on this athlete, for example, we can see the checklist they are enrolled in. We can also, if we go to a different athlete here, we can enroll an athlete from the athlete record. So we can say Assign Checklist, Confirm. So now we know that Sam, Colin, and Noah are in the checklist. If we go back to our checklist tab, we can click the athletes tab in the checklist and see the 3 athletes and also if they've completed that checklist. So that's pretty cool. If we go back to spaces, let's see what this looks like on the athlete end. So if we impersonate an athlete, we can go to their checklist tab, and then they're going to see the checklist name and the current step. Let's click in on this. Okay. And then we can see only the current step. As you can see, they can see the name of the next steps, but they can't see the instructions, and they can see the due date. You can also see if we look at the notifications, we were assigned the checklist as the athlete, which is cool. If we want to view the instructions, we can click View Full Instructions, and then the athlete can easily read your instructions. They can view the attachments, and then once they're done with the step, they can mark that complete. Great. And now they can see the instructions for the next step. So that's in a nutshell how checklist works. Hope that was helpful. Have a good one.